Hi. Oh, got my volume on. Hello, this is the Awkward GM Corbin here today, and I am here to be talking to you live about Scion Second Edition Dragon. It's hard to see in this image right here, but I'll just go down here. And hopefully I am on in the chat. I am. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. If there are any questions about Scion the Dragon, please send them on my way into the messages below. Apologies. It is a very hot room, so I have a lot of water. Get those hydrate reactions ready. So this is just going to be a general overview of Scion, what we've got here, or Scion Dragon rather, which it has two covers. That's interesting. Okay, first up, credits. Everyone involved. They all are good people, and thank you so much for having me over at the Onyx PathCon earlier last week. That was all fun. I didn't get to play Scion, sadly, but I did get to play uh, did get to play Trinity Continuum, which uses a similar system. Story Path, and they also announced they had the Story Path Ultra that got announced recently, which is on Drive-Thru RPG. The brochure early preview of it is it's basically just the Story Path system itself, but codified in a way that it's generalized for every system. I think losing a lot of people on that. Anyway, back to Dragon. Let's get to the detail on that. What's in a name? So, Signs is about mortals. Dragon is a game about the in-between space between the dark spaces kept dark as the bright light of divinity shines elsewhere. It is a game about playing both sides against the middle as you desperately try and find a foothold in the world. You play as a long-lost descendant of dragons called heirs, who act as agents and operatives enacting their ancestors' will as they delve into draconic history and memory. The world knows dragons primarily through mythology told to them by pantheons. Some of these are true, some is what dragons call propaganda. Okay, so getting a good sense of what dragons are initially. I'm not familiar with Scion, so as a beginner, this is something I really need to get understood. So it seems like these are your quintessential dragons from mythology, but there's got to be a twist to it that I'm not seeing just yet. It's steeped in the truth about dragons is steeped in mystery, and they prefer it that way. Better to keep hidden than to risk getting wrapped up in the fate of the pantheons. Better to wait for the gods and titans to wear each other down in order to join the fight directly. Than to join the fight directly. Decisive strikes. What's in a name? What is and what is not a dragon is difficult as things such as legend and taxonomy and taxonomy and real world description all play a big part in what gains that classification. Is a rather large snake a dragon? Is an oversized crocodile? What about a dinosaur? Dragons are defined as large reptilian creatures with a mythology surrounding them. So, okay, we've got here at the very least, the if you think of a dragon, that's what you'll be playing as. I'm assuming there is some sort of human form, but we'll get there when we get there. Again, this is just the overview of the game. Next week, I'll be doing the character creation, but I will be touching on character creation elements here. Dragons are legendary creatures with much gravitas and intrigue and power that inspire legends and mythologies of their own. Various different pop culture references that are going to fly over my head. If it's a big reptile with a sufficiently cool story, it's a dragon. Matthew Dawkins didn't make this, did he? Not seeing his name there, but whoever did that is a good way of describing it, I think. There's themes of self-discovery. Heirs are inheritors of a mythical world they barely understand, with little to no direction to guide them. Even if the heir discovers their true parentage, they still must choose whether to follow their commands. Great power comes great responsibility. Okay. They must decide if they follow the path set forward to them by the memories and allow their dragons to dictate their lives. Ooh, their dragons. So that seems more to me like the dragon aspect is sort of like separate from them. Characters struggle between loyalty to the dragon who gave them the powers they have and loyalty to themselves and their friends. They must struggle between becoming immersed in the world of dragons or remaining grounded in humanity. Okay, so this is along the lines of their powers are gifted to them, similar to how the gods gift their powers to mortals, and that creates the heroes. This is the dragons gifting their power to mortals. As far as I can tell from here, honestly, I'll be going through this book. You're going through this book with me as a beginner, and I'm a beginner, so I don't know a lot about dragons from Scion itself. They choose their heirs with purpose. Heirs are proxies for the dragon and part of a larger Cold War operating primarily in the shadows. Dragons have learned the hard way to be cautious, using the minions to achieve a specific end secretly. Double checking my audio here, just a sec. I'm kind of low here. I'm gonna raise it up just a bit. There we go. I'm not peaking just yet. If I do start peaking, let me know. So we've got here characters can choose to enact their own plots and shadow moves as they navigate through the world. These plots and schemes might not match their own. Not match that of the dragon, but they come close. Heirs hold their power and might rope followers and friends into their schemes. So we've got some decoding the myth. Their stories have been changed by fate, and they themselves twist public perception and obscure the truth. Everything that about a dragon is shrouded in mystery, from its past and motives. The heir becomes embroiled in politics. Dragons rarely let an heir know her exact plan. So it's sort of like if you're playing a vampire in Vampire the Masquerade or Requiem, the dragon seems to be sort of your sire, the person who brought you in. There's a lot of spying stuff going on here that is something I really like. The politics, I'm skipping the pulp spy because we're not going to be able to cover everything here, but dragons sit alongside gods and titans not as their equals, but as a third party hoping to play kingmaker and bring them both low. So they operate from the shadows. Sometimes they'll align with the gods, sometimes they'll align with the titans. This way they can try and take the power for themselves while the both of them are fighting. I sort of summarized there, but that's pretty much what it seems to be. So heirs may be brokering deals, acting as mediators, or assassinating those in position of authority, all in the name of their dragon patron. They find themselves at odds with scions and their parents one month, and then need the same scion's help in the next. Heirs walk a fine line between having a purely antagonistic role towards the pantheons and needing their help. Okay, so you can work with or in tandem with them. Okay, going down here. I feel like maybe I should have covered Hero before this, but I did cover Scion, the original Scion, book 1, last time. And by last time, I mean like probably like a few months ago. Mythical structure of the world, third player in between gods and titans and dragons. Where in Hero? Creatures featuring dragons, we've reclassified them as different from the mythologies that feature them. Instead, dragons are the heroes of the story, and their children are their agents in the world. Dragons organize themselves into flight groups of like-minded individual dragons. This book represents 6 flight groups explaining how they formed and why they do and who they choose to join. It walks you through creating the heirs in the world, who are not yet full dragons themselves. So you can become a dragon fully. So we've got the 6 flights here. Loosely defined groups. These groups are based on the region of the world the formative dragons were located in when the groups formed, but solidified around shared goals and ideologies. Not every dragon in every flight is from the same cultural mythology, nor the same world region. Okay. Let's go to what we have here. We have got the Dracs, a flight of dragons primarily formed of those descended from Tiamat, the mother of dragons. They accept any who seek vengeance against the gods, specifically for the death of their mother of dragons. You have Joka, which immense dragons who are more in tune with the draconic memories than any other. They are known for their intense hunger, which has driven them towards ambition and to return to a time before the gods. Lindworms, considered the first flight by many, these dragons were grouped together based on the desire to share knowledge and stories long before the advent of humanity. They seek knowledge and power in lieu of lost memories. We've got the Long, which has some sort of accent above it. It's probably Lung. Easily the largest and most disparate flight, these dragons are the most at peace with the gods. They do not fear or hate them, though they do seek their own fame and glory and wouldn't mind replacing the pantheon in humanity's worship. Naga are dragons with many heads born through the conceptual relationships with the world. Naga split between those trapped in the world and those trapped in the special terra incognita. Those in the world seek knowledge and a way to reopen their homes safely. So that's a term I'm going to have to learn. And then we have serpents, a group of dragons who care about the natural world and the most connected to humanity. They seek to teach and uplift humanity in hopes that together they can cleanse the world. Okay. So it looks like procedurals are a big part of this. So you've got 24, Burn Notice, Leverage, and Patriot. Haven't seen Patriot. Dragon Stories. Bunch of movies. I remember Flight of Dragons. That was a animated film, I think. Anyway. As we go through this, we've got the lexicon. The lexicon has a bunch of the terms that we need to know for playing this game. Luckily for this, the lexicon is very short. Bequeathal. At the moment when a dragon taps an heir into service, this usually comes in a directive to take some kind of action and an influx of memories designed to help achieve that goal. Brood is a group of heirs, so a bunch of players, whether from a single flight or multiple flights, so you can all be from different flights working together. A dragon, a mortal, a legendary creature usually tied to the creation of the world, though not always. Dragons claim they once ruled the world until humanity arrived with their gods. At that time, dragons lost a great deal of power. Dragons hid themselves, but are now coming out of hiding to meddle once more in the world. Dragon magic. The physical magic of dragons and their heirs harnessed through the use of spells. Individual spells learned are determined by the kind of dragon magic an heir knows. We already talked about flight. Heir is a person who bears the draconic ancestry or a memory of a dragon and has draconic powers. Dragons activate heirs to act as agents in the world. A horde The dragon or heir's wealth is considered their hoard. Dragons and heirs generally keep their hoards in their lairs, not trusting human means of keeping such treasures safe. I would like to see a dragon that's got a crypto wallet or something. Inheritance is a measure of the draconic power and knowledge that about dragonkind. The inheritance score determines the progression of the heir's power and the general outcome of rolls and how much of the heir's draconic form she can access at will. So as you get more powerful, it seems you get more access to different parts of your dragon body. Maybe the scales are armor, maybe the flight is your wings, or the wings are your flight. We will get to that point. Inheritance points can be used to activate your dragon magic. So we have the lair is the location where you reside. They can be in any realm or any shape, but are magical in nature. Lesser worm, an heir who has an inheritance rating of 5 or more. Lesser worms embody more of their draconic side than their human side. And remembrance, a set of polar opposite goals dictated by a flight to which an heir belongs. One side, the cipher, brings the heir closer to your draconic nature and flight goals. The other, defection, rejects the flight and brings the heir closer to humanity and personal goals. Okay. We do have the spells here. Visitation, the moment an heir first meets her draconic ancestor. Usually this happens after the heir has already been working for the dragon for a while and may never happen for reincarnated heirs. A visitation usually marks the change between an heir's early life and her life as a lesser worm. Okay. So we've got that down for the lexicon. I do want to look at these flights here. Got some interesting artwork. The Drac are the ones that I talked about first. They seem pretty cool. They're the ones that are from Tiamat. Man, they do definitely go with different versions of dragons that I'm used to. This one looks like a chimera, practically. This one more classical Welsh dragon with the antlers. Maybe Eastern. I don't know what the snake dragon is, but that's pretty cool. And then you have the sea serpent type dragon here. Okay, the flight of the Drac. The Joka. It looks like they gave a lot. They gave a lot to these dragon portraits in here. It seems like there are 5 dragons for each portrait, and there's at least one dragon that's asleep or dead in the background. The blue one always seems to be a C1 for whatever reason. Now here we have a visibly human dragon, or at least a dragon that may be made of water? That's pretty interesting. This one has to be dead. Look at it. It has a skull of a human. The frick? Couple sunbathing dragons. Okay. Oh, these are the multi-headed ones. You can see they're like 5 heads there. The Naga, rather. Then we've got the serpents. Crazy one. Character creation we should probably just go into a little bit. Oh, it even gives you a few characters that you can use as virtual tabletop tokens if you wish. That's nice. Oh, example ones. Kieran Amir. Ambrosia Cook. Jacob Lucason. Mitch Chu Kaiwang. Leticia Flores Gonzalez. Okay. So as you're an heir, you apparently get these powers and abilities from your dragon. What are these things? You get a calling, loosely associated with your path. If your character's at least one of your character's callings should be shared with your draconic ancestry. If you don't know what your character's draconic ancestry is, that's fine, but one of the callings will have to be shared when it comes time to define your dragon. You have 5 dots to split between 3 callings. There are also draconic necks from either the feats of scale necks or transformative necks. If your character is also a legendary creature, replace one of your callings with an appropriate one to your nature. I remember creatures, the legendary creatures were from Scion Origin. If I went to the back of the book, supernatural paths such as the Saints, the Kitsune, Satyrs, Theranthrope, Wolf Warrior, Susith, and if you wanted to have something like an Amazon, it seems like there were various different paths you could do here. In any case, so we have the callings, dragon magic. So you gain 3 magical abilities. They have to fit your flight signature. And then you have birthrights. Many heirs receive a birthright tied to their ancestry's flight, but they can inherit benefits from anywhere across the world, as their lineage and parentage is often muddled. Okay. Let's look at the heirs section up here just to get this a bit more clear, because it seems like heirs can be reincarnated or not. Agents are heirs chosen and activated by a living dragon. An agent always has a draconic lineage, even if he is completely unaware of it. Even if the dragon who activates him is not his direct ancestor. The dragon activates the heir by passing memories to the agent, giving him flashes of her life. Through exploring the memories, the agent gathers information on the dragon and receives cryptic orders he must follow in order to learn more about himself. The path of an agent is one of light and dark, uncovering memories while plunging deeper into a dragon's control. Then we've got the reincarnated. Reincarnated heirs are literally the reincarnation of a dead dragon. She too has a tie to a draconic lineage, which led the dead dragon's memories used to latch onto her. Unlike agents, a reincarnated heir has no living dragon to guide her steps. She must unlock the dragon's memories herself. With each memory the reincarnated unlocks, she unveils a game she has been playing for centuries. Every time she remembers, she understands more of her place in the world and the dragon, and realizes how muddy the truth of her position is. The path of the reincarnated is one of impossible gray. Heirs who risk losing their identity to a dragon's plots or overcoming their ancestor and taking power for themselves. So you're either basically an apprentice, or you are someone who is being sort of possessed partially by a dragon. It seems very much like if one of these dragons contacts you, it's probably the best way. If you're reincarnated, you're basically having the ancestry, the history of this previous dragon thrust upon you. Maybe it's better. Maybe you have a little bit more agency in that way, but it still feels very like you have to fight to survive in this way. So we do have dragon paths. Ooh. People just randomly flying around. I'm clearly not a dragon. I'm just a supernatural person floating around. A few examples here. Always being watched. Small things seem to go your way. Sometimes your parents would receive anonymous gifts of money or support when you needed additional schooling. Okay, so these are reincarnated is one of these paths. Oh, and they have two new roles here for criminal and spy. This is something I'm hoping with Ultra when it comes out that it can be used with Scion. I remember a couple of people were using a homebrewed version of it with the and that's one horde right there. Um, People are using Story Path Ultra with Scion, even though it's not officially getting an Ultra version. I'm not sure what is getting an official version of Story Path Ultra, but I'm excited to see what happens with that. We've got the traits, we've got the inheritance trait. Yeah. I'm going into this more detail right now than character creation because I'm assuming inheritance is not going to be something you can adjust, or at least not adjust at character creation. Inheritance represents how deeply an heir lets those roots embed themselves in her life, and thus how deeply she embroils herself in the shadowy intrigues and flexes her mystical might. As an heir generates an inherent has an inherent an heir's inheritance rating generates a pool of inheritance points equal to her inheritance dots. She can imbue them into spells or treasures, dedicating a portion of her power to maintain dragon magic and regaining those points after the magic ends. And she can spend them to immerse herself fully in memory and call upon great forces of ancient times. It can be rated from 1 to 9. Starting characters start at 1. Characters with an inheritance 1 through 4 are simply called heirs, having just begun their metamorphosis from human to dragon. Once you get to 5 through 9, you are considered lesser worms, powerful draconic beings with strong ties to the old ways, but still largely human in perspective. The higher your inheritance, the more draconic urges rule her, and the more dragon's collective knowledge she can access. Once you become 10, you become a dragon in apotheosis that grounds you completely to the collective memory, transforming them into an elder worm and a majestic monster with agendas, schemes, and maybe even heirs of their own. Man. So this book just assumes you are not a dragon. It goes up to 9. Okay. So as a hatchling, you gain Scent of the Divine, 1 spell per starting dragon magic, plus 1 more of any type, 5 calling dots, 2 draconic necks, and then there are adjustments as you get higher and higher up. Once you get to lesser worm, just to be... Oop, I hit my mic. I apologize, Mike. I didn't know you were there. You're conspirator at 5 dots, which means lesser worms are primary influencers on the dragon's behalf in the world, acting as proxies for their clandestine parents and managing the many irons their flights have in the fire. You gain 1 new dragon magic, a signature flight magic, and a neck. Okay, I was hoping it would say that your form changes more, but it doesn't really show that here. Maybe it's more role play aesthetics than physical. Scent of the Divine. Unlike heroes whose senses have been dulled by their human nature, heirs are keenly aware of the supernatural around them. When you sniff or a knowing listen, you can detect the presence of another heir or dragon. You automatically know if it belongs to another flight. Okay. Man, this is going to be a lot. We have the callings here. Each calling comes with an associated craving, a drive that pushes the heir to collect, hoard, dominate, possess, or otherwise make something her own. This is very. I like this. This is basically forcing you to take on the role as a dragon. So if you're a collector, you want to obtain a new item from your chosen collection. If you are a guardian, you want guardianship over someone or something and take significant actions to protect them from all perceived harm. A destroyer, you want to consume stuff such as buildings, people, organization, someone's reputation or livelihood. Healers seek out corruption. Judges pass judgment on those who've wronged you. Mystic is learning. Nomad is traveling. And then Predator is superiority over someone else. Yep, that one's rough. Ruler is to become more powerful in enforcing your will upon the people. And Watcher is gaining private information. Memory. Memories of you. You can access memory, which is the collective history of deeds of dragonkind written to the bones of the world, and more specifically, memories their handlers marked for their heir to recall vicariously. It's more of an ordeal than simply willing information into the mind. You need a physical symbol or reminder that triggers a vision or flashback. You temporarily take on your Dragon Patriot's mindset and drives and remember a significant moment from their history. You might suddenly learn that someone you know was a sleeper agent for a flight all along or is reincarnated of an ancient figure from your handler's life. Okay. So the system itself. Memories manifest with memory conditions. Once per session, a player may declare something is in the current scene has triggered a memory for her character, regaining a spent inheritance point. She chooses one of her callings to associate with the memory based on the context of the scene and the memory triggered. That memory becomes active, awakening the character's blood and mind as her circumstances align with something her handler experienced. You gain an appropriate memory condition, which is listed below, and you gain the story guide is the final arbiter on whether or not a memory triggers. It's possible to have more active memories than callings. You may have multiple memory conditions for the same calling, each related to a different memory. Okay, so an example for a let's do Mystic. This one seems short. Remembers arcane secrets buried under centuries of dusty history. The heir may use one spell she doesn't know in any dragon magic form other than the flight specific one once before the end of the scene, plus one additional time per current step towards the cipher from center. I'll have to look at the cipher. The heir becomes a font of mystical power, choosing one spell that she does know other than a flight-specific one. All heirs and the other draconic beings present in the scene may use that spell even if they don't know it for the rest of the scene. Okay. So it gives you a little bit of a boon. Oh, draconic forms. But I wanted to do Cipher, but draconic forms are so good. Okay. His own draconic dragon shape based on those of his flight and a specific transformation in which he's invested via transformation axe. Each flight favors certain kinds of transformations. You can use an inheritance point to imbue yourself and take a simple action. You decide on what your form looks like and what features it has, guided by his flight's typical features and callings he possesses. By default, with no transformation acts, this form significantly increases your character's size and strength. The heir gets +1 scale on all actions, which doesn't stack with the scale benefits from Nax or other sources. If 2 sources would grant scale, use the highest bonus among them. While in this form, the character may perform feats of scale by spending 1 momentum per feat rather than suffering the usual complication. It lasts until the end of the scene, and then you may change back into human form with a simple action before then. But you may only do it once per scene. Oh, man. If the heir's draconic form possesses features that should change his innate capabilities, such as wing, and provide flights and claws that have the lethal tag to unarmed attack, you gain access to those abilities, but take a complication on all actions that use them equally, to 6 minus half your inheritance rounded down. Failure to buy off this complication leads to general mishaps. Oh god. So if you're transforming into a dragon with dragon claws or trying to fly and you're not well equipped for it, you're probably going to have if you're at inheritance 1, you're going to have like a -5 to all of your dragon actions, or to those specific dragon actions. If the character possesses any transformation necks, they automatically activate at no additional cost. Okay, that's good. That's very good. You have you pass down. You have birthrights. You receive a birthright directly from your dragon patron. Instead, her activation. Oh, they rarely receive it from their dragon patron. Instead, they activate as an agent of dragon, sets her on the path littered with omens, prophecies, and stuff before her meticulously planned centuries before her birth. Of course there's a burn notice condition. Okay, guides, system. A guide is both a character and a resource. The story guide may or may not give a guide a real character trait depending on the things. Okay. So it looks like these guides are the ones that help you going through. Oh, guides are different than birthrights. By virtue of playing the law game, dragons stay out of the world. It suits their needs to dole information out to their heirs a little by little through mysterious pre-planning machinations, relying on chosen proxies. Dragons can tap other beings with relative resources or knowledge to cross paths with their heirs, offering aid or arranging instructional tomes to conveniently fall into the brood's lap. Okay, so it can be a dragon if one decides it's worthy divinito directly, or a more powerful lesser worm with a greater idea of the bigger picture. Okay. Some example guides, I guess, here. Loyal servant. They have assets that are associated to them, and guide stunts. That's interesting. Even a guide condition of quid pro quo, Clarice. Story guide gives the character a new short-term or draconic deed in addition to one that they already have, representing a favor he owes his guide. A burn notice. The heir has used up precious resources getting himself and his allies out of trouble, and his guides put a moratorium on asking for any more favors for a while. That all makes sense. And now we have the Horde. Like guides, a horde functions like a path. The player can invoke it and push its benefits to even greater limits in exchange for a condition that complicates things for the character. So these are like resources you have. Same thing with a lair, probably. Oh, lairs give you a home field advantage, security, and other birthrights. Pawns. So you can have loyal servants and use pawns. Like, this is crazy. This is a crazy amount of detail. How big is this book? This is only 218 pages, but it covers a wide breadth of stuff. The dragon powers are going to be pretty insane, I feel. Look at all those satyrs getting burned alive. So it looks like, going through what we've got here for the birthrights, you have guides, hordes, lairs, pawns, and tradecraft. So these are various different systems that dragons can use. The draconic form looks pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff in here. Let's go into calling knacks. Or let's just go into the knacks first and look at a few of them. Seems like you can have infinite pockets to produce items from your hoard in an instant, though it must be able to fit in your pocket. So if you have some gold coins and you need to buy off someone, you can put your hand in your pocket and it will automatically grab stuff from your lair that you can use to buy off a person. Oh, this is for the collector archetype. Destroyer has similar stuff. Render of cities. You add your destroying rating to the force scale for purposes of demolition and mass destruction. You can add a shockwave tag if you're flying. Okay, so those are pretty cool ones. Let's look at the dragon knacks, though. Dragon knacks fuel dragons and heirs' true monstrous nature. They grant characters access to their terrible draconic forms, as well as their ability to perform feats of scale on par with the children of God. Of a god. So dragons, knacks of scale are the ones that basically, when fighting a massive force, you increase your scale. Okay. Feats of scale. Okay, I need to read this more. As long as a dragon heir has one of these knacks of scale purchased and active, she may perform feats of scale, as noted on page 121. Feats of scale. Children of gods come by their powers easily, and blessings afford them by their legends fuel tremendous powers. Dragons rely on power of their mighty nature. When a character attempts an action covered by one of her calling's keywords, she may use one of her knacks of scale to increase scale by inheritance divided by 2, rounded up. So at 1, you're increasing your scale by 1. You must have a knack purchased to perform a feat of scale. When a character attempts an action covered by one of her faces. If the action is additionally associated with her deed name, when she may increase her scale by additional rank for the action. For example, if the inheritance for heir with an iron-fisted rule knack for her judge calling takes an action to punish someone with her deed name is the writhing punisher of prey, she can invoke her knack of scale to gain +3 to the scale action. +3 because it is half. It's half of her heir value +1 because she's using her deed name. Whenever an heir performs a feat of scale using knacks, they gain a +1 complication of true draconic nature, which stacks. So you're basically becoming more draconic if you fail. If you fail to pay off the knack, the complication. Okay, so 146. So we have a bunch of these knacks of scale for being a predator or nomad, all this stuff. Transformative knacks. Look at those wings. Look at those weirdly transparent wings. I imagine they're transparent. You can see the veins in there. Dragon axe with a transformation. Some transformation axe can be purchased multiple times. So bottomless lungs, you can hold your breath. Brutal might increases your strength. These are pretty good stuff, and I think you pay for these with your inheritance, unless you are fully transforming into a dragon. Dragon's breath. You can use your breath as a elemental, lethal, messy, ranged shockwave. Those are a lot of tags right there. This is all pretty cool stuff. I'm excited for being able to take some of these when I get the chance. Dragon magics. They have a cost, either by imbuing or spending inheritance. Incantation. Spells require the heirs to do something to invoke the magic she is calling forth. She might be needed to ask the elements to do her bidding, or touch a small totem, or plunge her hand into cold water. Drak. Destroy an object, light a fire, or perform an act of violence. Joka. Consume something, to be it food, drink, or knowledge. Lindworm. Curse an enemy. Roar. Touch gold or jewels. Long chant, plunge hand into water, or write. Naga, dance, meditate, pray. And serpents. Destroy a piece of modern technology, plunge their hand into soil, or touch a plant. You can have animal control powers, elemental manipulation. Oh, there are a lot of elemental manipulations. Frost, water, earth, fire. Fear. Classic dragon stuff. Flight. What's this? This looks like a shield. Oh, telekinesis, probably. Luck. Telekinesis. Oh, illusions. Telekinesis. Luck. Transformation. We did this before. Many can switch between human and dragon form with ease, but have learned secret art of altering your shape in more profound ways. So you can hide beneath notice, which changes your dragon form into something more innocuous, such as a lizard or a snake. While in this small form, you are beneath the notice of others. Okay. Shift shape. You may take on another form. Like most dragons, your range of forms is usually somewhat limited. You can take something the size of a crow. You can transform yourself into an exact duplicate of a person or denizen. This last option even allows you to exactly resemble another dragon god or titan, should you wish to risk doing so. Oh god. So you gain additional powers. That's interesting. Then you have transform object, transform other. You transform substance. You have understanding. You possess a deep and profound insight into the world, supernatural realm. So you have foresight. You can glimpse the future. You can pierce through illusions. There's some weather control stuff here. Ooh, signature magics. Pandemonium. Chaos. We've got here some minor chaotic things like a vortex, organized chaos, violent anarchy. We've got Joka Signature Magic Refinement. Oh, it's getting late into the stream, and I forgot to plug stuff. I need to plug a few things. Apologies. Try not to take away from stuff. They Came From Anthology has just finished. Simulacra TV, which I played Trinity Continuum with, is doing their series finale of Lunar Rocks on Thursday, and Scion Godsend returns for a third season on Sunday. There are additional promotions going on right now. We've got Onyx Path promotions for their anniversary bundle deals on Drive-Thru RPG, Indie Press Revolution, and Roll20. I'm just going to post these into the chat right now. And then that should be it. There's OP Game Night on Friday, which is this Friday, if you're interested. Okay, going back to the stuff here before I close out the night. There's some blessings, there's some avarice stuff, which is about greed, teleportation, purification. Man, are knights a thing in this world? If I look up knights, am I going to find out that there's just an order of knights that are going to kill me? No. There's some legendary creatures in the appendix. It looks like we have stuff about scourges, ruling serpents, and something called reptilian destroyers. If there are any other questions about Scion Dragon, please let me know in the messages. I am here to help new players get introduced to Dragon. The Dragon paths are pretty interesting. I'm very interested in all these powers that these guys are being given. It kind of looks like Trinity Continuum Aberrant in the way of scale for these guys. The only difference is, as far as I can tell, these guys don't get a lot of XP at the start for their characters. Yeah. You're not getting like 1,000,000 XP at the beginning of your character's creation. Get some pretty cool stuff. We've got the formation of the flights here. Dragons today. Today, dragons act in secret, laying low, using a variety of intermediaries. In order to survive, their secrets. There was stuff about name. There's, what was it? It was because of your transformation. There was another thing I wanted to look up. Your draconic form, if you use your name. It was the transformation X, maybe. Feats of scale using this if you use your associated deed name. That's it. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Your deed name, you select your character's deed name. It can include a calling word. You have a remembrance. If I looked at the remembrances, at the beginning of the game, all heirs rest in the center of their remembrance track. Each time a character acts in a way that reinforces his cipher, deliberately or unwittingly, he moves one step closer to the cipher side of the track. Each time he actively rejects his cipher and embraces his defection, he moves on one step closer to the defection side. When you reach either side, you either gain a condition of revelation on the cipher side or defector on defection side. Revelation. Whenever you spend momentum on a roll, your character's path, skills, or a roll to invoke a memory, gain one additional die that doesn't come out of the pool. However, you can't spend momentum on any rolls that deal with ordinary humans or their situations. Whenever you alienate one or more ordinary humans through draconic behavior or overtly dominating them or flaunt superiority over them, add 1 momentum to the pool. Completely give yourself over to the memory by channeling your handler through your body and mind directly will resolve this. For a number of rounds equal to your inheritance, your draconic form activates an all transformation X you know at no cost, but you are unable to take any action that doesn't reinforce your cipher. Once this is resolved, you're set back to the center of the remembrance track. If you reject it, however, you gain additional dice that doesn't come out of your pool for short-term and long-term worldly deeds. You may invoke any path that has nothing to do with you being a dragon. However, you can't spend momentum on any rolls to invoke a memory. Whenever you fail to fulfill a significant obligation to your flight or brood, or betray them or abandon them through inaction, add momentum. You can reinforce your connections with human world in a definitive, cathartic act of defiance. You must fulfill a short-term deed or take a significant action towards a long-term date to directly oppose or contradict either your draconic deed or memory deed that would resolve any active memory conditions. In doing so, immediately refresh all bond pools you possess for ordinary humans to their maximum and immediately resolve 1 path suspension condition for any non-dragon path you possess. Once you do this, this condition resolves and you reset to the center of your track. Oh, so each one of these has, each flight has a different one. So Drac is chaos versus order, Joka are indulgence versus moderation, Lindworms are duty versus consciousness. I'm guessing consciousness must be like selfishness. Okay, and then long gain pride or humility. Naga have 1 of many or 1 of none. It's either embracing your heritage or embracing your individuality. And then serpents have direct action versus negotiation. Okay. Man, these are crazy things. All heirs and dragons express their draconic natures through 3 of possible 11 callings and possess deed names that define the circumstance which they can invoke feats of scale. Callings are rated 1 through 5. At least one of the starting callings must be of the same as her draconic patron. Each calling is associated with a type of memory. Are there examples of callings? Yes, these are the ones that I did before. Okay. I think I'm getting a good sense of what this is all about. I definitely feel like it's more complex than what I'm used to when it comes to these game lines, but that's just because when I was playing with the Trinity Continuum story path games, everything was sort of baseline, whereas with this it seems like everything is more of, you are a powerful entity, you are given dragon-like powers and abilities, you are equivalent of a great dragon, getting more and more powerful as you get higher and higher up. Now, that being said, we are sort of at the end of this video right now. Character creation is going to be next week. Character creation will be a lot more interesting, I hope, in that now that we know more about what Scion Dragon is about, we can now figure out what type of character we want to create. One thing I have to say that I really like about the artwork in here, I love that the example characters that we were given have been present throughout all the artwork here. Like, you see the woman in the yellow dress, this guy, bald guy with the vest, and this guy in a more Asian outfit with glasses. they are the same as the ready-made characters here. Identical. Kieran, Amir, Jacob, and then we had Letitia. I'm bad at pronouncing things. If I go through the art here, there was one more that I saw. It's like these little Easter eggs you get from reading these books. I just love them. I don't think they were in these pictures, no. If there's anything you'd like me to build for character creation, please let me know on Twitter at the Awkward GM. And if you'd like to check me out on my YouTube page, you can check me out at the Awkward GM Corbin on YouTube. And I'll just put that link in there. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week for character creation in Scion Dragon.